I want to thank our sponsor for today's show, Momemtum Colon Cleanse, for all your blockage needs.
Did you catch that on the recording?
No, unfortunately not.
Because Jamie would keep that.
He would. That's the problem.
Hey, welcome back to another episode of the Entrepreneurial Family Man Podcast. Jamie, we love you. We miss you. Jamie's at a conference and not able to join us today, but you got us three.
Hey, the show has to go on, right, fellas? I mean, we can't just stop everything for Jamie Slingerland.
We got to keep the consistency. We can't be inconsistent. I am here with Chris McCluskey and Michael McGreevy. We are just guys who are crazy about our wives. We love our kids, and we want to kill it in business. And every week we have fun conversations, sometimes really funny, but great conversations around these domains where we want to grow. We want to have momentum in life. And so today we're going to talk about that topic, momentum. Chris McCluskey.
Well, first of all, I guess I'm going to have to get my game face on here because all I'm thinking is now, it's terribly important to be regular. You got to have good momentum moving.
You have to.
Thanks a lot.
Oh, man. I should have said Turbolax from one of my favorite movies, Dumb and Dumber.
Turbolax.
You're a regular guy, Harry. And we want you to stay regular. Turbolax for fast, effective relief.
Okay, let's see if we can get some momentum going here. Wow. Momentum. In all sincerity, momentum properly thought of in the context that we're applying it here is really, really important because we could sit on here and talk about all kinds of great ideas and goals and visions and resolutions that we've made for our lives, ways that we're going to be better men and things that we intend to do differently in the new year and whatever else. But the reality is that studies of, for example, New Year's resolutions show that the vast majority of any well-intentioned New Year's resolutions disappear within a week. 80%, according to a recent article I saw online, don't even make it into February. They just evaporate on the wind. Only 8% ever actually get fulfilled. That's like ever.
8%?
8%.
I want to be in that 8% group.
Yeah, how do you get that?
Well, you need some momentum, right?
Yep.
Does it come in a bottle?
Getting started and keep it going. Keep moving that rock up that hill. Don't roll it and then stop. And then roll it and stop. It's going to start rolling back downhill. Once you get something that matters moving, momentum is about keeping it moving in the direction that you actually intend to grow.
Oh, man. I am one of those starter guys, so I get this. I get really excited on the front end of something, get all fired up. I'm like, it's going to be amazing. And then some of that passion fades, and suddenly that amazing idea that I had is no longer around. Wait, what happened to that? Oh, yeah, I was going to do that thing, and it never happened. What happened? So I totally resonate with that, McCluskey.
I think we all do if we're at all honest with ourselves. And that's why we're looking at not just the concept of momentum, but the importance of being with others who are on a similar journey and are like-minded, because we draw from each other the kind of motivation that builds momentum over time because there's community. About the time that we start to lose track of it and slack on it, somebody's calling us out on it. Or we look over our shoulders metaphorically and they're catching up on us or they're passing us by, and it challenges us in great ways to get moving again. Keep that momentum. We draw from each other.
Yeah, that's a really important point, Chris. And momentum happens together. We get to draft off each other at times. Michael, I think we're all, as entrepreneurs, we have ideation and these fun ideas that we want to throw out there. But sometimes it takes a group of brothers to make sure that that's not going to happen in a vacuum. Make sure that you're doing something together. And I mean, I remember us and other guys being in a 12-week year kind of program where we had these goals and we wanted to accomplish them at this set amount of time. And we had to literally throw those goals out there in a spreadsheet that was viewable for all the other guys. That created momentum because everyone else is in there seeing what you're doing, seeing progress, tracking with you. And you kind of felt like, oh man, I better up my game. This guy's doing it pretty good over here, and I need to step up. mean, that idea of having people in your life, having other men in your life to do things consistently and growing in those areas is so key. What's that been like for you?
Yeah, I mean, I just know that I'm going to have days and weeks where I fall flat. And on my own, if nobody else is checking out my stuff, that's just going to create a very quick swing in the negative direction of momentum. So that's what it's been like for me, having a group of guys that know who I am and know what I want to accomplish and can remind me of that makes such a huge difference. And I love that Jim Rohn quote. It gets said so many times, you become the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. That gets thrown around a lot. But have you ever really looked at that in your life? And like that's what I had to ask myself is, did I actually get a pen out and write down who I spend the most time with and how that affects me?
Michael, when you did that, what happened?
When I did that, I realized that, oh, you're trying to get me to get to the point here, right, Chris?
Trying to banter here.
Yeah, so when you did that, what happened? Come on, spit it out, Junior. So I'll tell you what happened, Chris. I was actually a part of this Bible study, a great group of guys. Like, they're awesome guys. We met every week. But I just knew that I wasn't being stretched and challenged by them. I was more of a pull to be the same in a way. And I recognized that in order to get to where I wanted to go and become the person I wanted to be, I had to intentionally choose some other guys to spend time with. And so I made a decision to leave a really good thing to find something that would challenge me even more.
Okay, now you just said, in my mind, one of the key words, if there was like a golden key to open this issue of establishing momentum by paying attention to the people that we spend most time with, those that we're around because they help us propel in momentum, it's that word intentional. I had to intentionally choose some different people. I think realistically, particularly men, we tend, unless we are very conscious and intentional about the people we spend time with, we tend toward relationships that are mostly default friendships, default relationships. Who is it that our wife loves to get together with? Oh, okay, well, I guess I'll get to know her husband. Oh, yeah, he's a great guy. You know, he's part of the group. Yeah, okay, we're going to Bible study, or we're going to this activity, or we're going out for dinner. Yeah, sure. We'll make up some conversation. Almost always it's something completely innocuous, like sports or, current events or the weather or something dumb. But the default relationships that we tend to surround ourselves with outside of work, I mean, when you're at work, whoever's there is who's there. But when you're looking at who do I spend time with and you realize they're not intentional, they're just the male counterpart that shows up in that setting, then that's a big red flag for us. If we're going to become the average of those people that we're spending the bulk of the time with and we're not being intentional, that's where we have to start. Who's going to raise me up? Who's going to challenge me?
I love that, Chris. That hits home to me because, a few years ago when this California boy, city boy, beach boy moved up to Oregon, I felt like a fish out of water in trying to become part of this new group of people. And I didn't wear camo. I didn't carry a knife or a gun or all this stuff that was just
So you wore a sweet smelling hand lotion.
Yeah.
Big deal.
What's wrong with you, boy?
I just added DEET to it after a couple of months to really fit in,
Little deer urine on that.
That's right.
Yeah, rub a little manure in there.
That's right. But you're so right in that so many times the relationships around us revolve around those that we grew up with, if you stayed in the same hometown, or those within your circle of friends through your kids or through your wife or your church or whatever. And actually, I'm going to blame Jamie here since he's not here. I'm going to blame Jamie on getting me around really awesome people like you, because I got to meet Jamie through Dan Miller on a cruise we took years ago. About a year after that, he called me up and said, "Hey, we have some openings in this thing called a mastermind." He had to explain to me what a mastermind was, by the way, because at that point I had no idea. And really kind of twisted my arm. And I can look back as that was a major pivot point for me in being around guys like you and, Jamie and Michael at first, just getting to become really just good friends, really acquainted in a great way, and more so over the last 2 years. But then I could say these are like virtual friends that I consider my best friends. Yes. We don't live in the same zip code or state, but we get together a couple times a year. And those points where we get together continues to fan that flame and create momentum. It was like we were singing from the same songbook. And every area, when we're talking about our marriages, we're talking about our fatherhood and the struggles and the wins, like how can we learn from each other? The business building, these are my people. And I was so thankful for that.
That is so cool. And Jamie, you're not here, but we're going to tip our hats to you, man, except we're not wearing them. But that is so cool because that's a perfect example. And you are one of those people who's very intentional about who you reach out to and who you try to bring around you to do life with. And one of the main fruits of it is this very topic. It's the ability to establish and maintain momentum on things that we say really matter to us, and they actually do really matter. But the reality is, if we stay relatively isolated, like this nation of individuals that we tend to be in the U.S., then most of us will tend very quickly towards slacking off. And a little sleep, a little slumber, right? And the thief comes after all the things that mattered to us. You don't keep with that pattern of dating your wife. You don't stick with that new difficult venture in your business. You don't make that time for connecting with your kids around whatever's going on in their world. We need each other.
Yeah, I know for a long time, I didn't really want that because it would expose some of the weak areas that I had. Right? Like that. If I could I'll just work on it on my own. I can figure this stuff out by myself. And then when I get some of this in line, then maybe I'll join a group or something.
Then I will. Yeah.
Yeah, I was shooting myself in the foot because I needed that group to see my weakness and call me up out of it. And that's the paradox, right? That's like, I feel like that's one of the biggest obstacles for so many guys, like it was for me, is, you mean they're going to see my weak parts? Well, forget about that. I'm not exposing myself to that.
Yeah, that's like the equivalent of saying you're not going to join a gym until you get into shape. It's like, you need it. You want to be around those people. They're going to challenge you. You see the grandma sweating and you're trying to push some weight up. Like, that's going to encourage you. It's excite you to get going.
Yeah. Kind of got to get over yourself a little bit, right? To start doing life with some other men.
Well, it is a pretty tough challenge for all of us as men because, we do have to get over ourselves. Every single one of us is pretty darn insecure when we're really honest about the things that we know we've been challenged to. We know they're laid before us. We don't have to look very far to know what our primary responsibilities are in life. The question is, how are we measuring up to them? How's that working for you? And it's just really, really tempting to kind of try to gloss over that, do a little bit of dismissing, a little bit of minimizing, maybe even a little bit of blaming, toss in a little distraction. And hey, the day passed. I made it through, except I'm laying down again and it's more empty in my bedroom. There's a greater hunger in the pit of my gut for the things that I know really mattered. And I missed it yet again because I'm living largely alone, surrounded by people, but largely alone because I'm not being intentional about who I hang with, who I do life with, people that are going to call me up and help me stick with some momentum on the things that I say matter so much.
McCluskey, what's it been like for you in terms of this topic of momentum recently with your business, marriage, family?
It's thanks, because I hope I'm being honest in saying that it's definitely been a lifelong struggle for me, which is a lot of why I'm in that exact same group with Dan Miller and why I love doing this EFM stuff with you guys. And I'm very intentional about my relationships. But where my life is in the season of my life is so focused on my older kids. We got several now that are in the very late teens and throughout the 20s on up to my oldest is 27. They are all launching their businesses, or they've already launched their businesses and they're growing them. These are all entrepreneurial kids. They're very family oriented. Only one of my children is married so far. But in all of that, as I'm watching them, I've talked about it on here a couple times, I think, but I've established a business incubator for them to help them develop the entrepreneurial mindset and to help them with the kind of oversight and input and all that a mastermind group would provide to launch businesses, even for their peers to do that. So we have this building in town called the Incubator now, and the kids are always renovating some new piece of it. We'll do some events there eventually, probably. But one of the key pieces I plugged into the Incubator when I first started it with the kids followed up on a conversation that we had about this very topic. And that was the tendency for us to start off with great ideas. Yeah, I'm going to start a business. And hey, the Incubator, Dad, that sounds great. Let's do that. And we say we're going to meet on such and such a night for such and such an amount of time. We'll do it virtually if we have to, or we'll do it here physically around the dining room table. And the reality is human nature says, yeah, for about 3 weeks, maybe a month and a half. But at some point sooner rather than later, it's going to peter out when other things are calling for our time. And we're all going to be easily tempted to say, well, yeah, I kind of got something else going on now. So we established a fee for the kids to pay long before they had their businesses started. We started at $5 a month, but then it went up to $10 a month, and then 15, and then 20, and 20. These are my own children.
Oh, that's awesome.
I'm not keeping the money, but I'm having them put their money where their mouth is so they stick with it. And by golly, then they establish momentum. You got to have some skin in the game. It's got to matter to you somehow. Relationally, financially, something's got to matter for you to stick with it and get the fruit of momentum.
Yeah, so true, McCluskey. I mean, as long as we are safe, as long as nobody really knows us, as long as we are comfortable, we are not going to see the momentum that we want to see. And that's what was one of the hardest things for me to start to see, is that discomfort can be okay. That's actually a part of growth, a part of being called up, right? Being vulnerable, uncomfortable. I love that story about the incubator, that you're charging your own children money.
Well, hey, let me put this in here, because it's been going for so many years now, and out of it is how this building actually got purchased, and then they purchased other buildings that they're renting. They've started socking in rental monies. That little account that started with each of them ponying up $5 a month now has over $20,000 in it. Just from their efforts and all these other businesses that they've started, and now 7 different properties. Those kids are tasting of the fruits of momentum, which is a fruit of commitment.
That is awesome. Love it. So what is it for you when we talk about momentum? Where in your life do you desire more momentum, and how do you get there? Who are the EFM guys in your life, either locally or virtually? We challenge you to sit down and maybe take a pen and paper out, journal a little bit on thinking through who is it in your life that, from your business side, from marriage, your fatherhood, who's moving you forward? Who's giving you that momentum? Create that group locally, virtually. Reach out. We'd love to talk more about this. Visit us at efmlife.com. Jump in our private Facebook group. We'd love to keep this conversation going.
Not only the conversation, we want to keep everything going.
Thank you for listening to the Entrepreneurial Family Man Podcast. Visit efmlife.com to connect with us and others like you who are pursuing success in enterprise, family, and
momentum